The fallout from the Washington Commanders' embarrassing loss has finally hit in Cleveland. We will talk about this, all about that, on the Ultimate Browns. Quarterback changes. Can the coach make the change? What changes and adjustments need to be made? And is this season already over? We'll talk about it all right here on this episode of the Ultimate Browns. Welcome to the fastest 30 minutes in all the sports. It's G. Bush right here with the Ultimate Browns. Make sure you continue to subscribe to the channel so you are notified whenever we drop our videos. Got a great show planned for you guys today. Jameis Winston, is he the Browns' best bet moving forward? We'll talk about that. We talked to Aditi. We got an opportunity to talk about it a little bit on UCSS today. We'll show a couple of clips and get the guys' opinions on whether Jameis Winston is the guy to go to and what time will Kevin Stefanski make that call, if he's going to make it at all. And the most intriguing part of it is, does he have the authority to make that call? We'll talk about that during the show. And we have to mention this right now because I said if they lose this football game, which they did lose this football game to the Commanders in convincing fashion, it was disgusting. It was nasty work. And it looked like something that was undescribable. When you do have games like that, you're going to have to be forced to talk about certain things. And I've heard people already talking about tanking. And we're going to give you the evil reality and the harsh reality of what it means when you're tanking. And I don't think people understand that the people that are talking about tanking might not be around at the end to rebuild this thing after the tank. We'll kind of explain that a little bit too. And then finally, we got to get to this. Deshaun Watson played a game, and all 22 came out. And, you know, I'm honest with a lot of things. And the one thing that I have to do is be completely clear and honest about what I see on the film and what I'm watching. Last week, when he played a really good game, I thought, against the Raiders, and he wasn't getting any help. I talked about that. I talked about his 80-something% score. I talked about how PFF had him rated. I thought there were some plays that he really made, got called back because of some holding penalties. Guys didn't drop footballs and things like that. Now, here's the thing. If I'm going to be able to have the ability to say that when he plays good, I got to also keep it a buck and say when he played bad. And I'm going to tell you what, the film work is worse than what it looked like on the field. When you turn on the film, there's a couple things that stand out to you. One is Deshaun Watson seems to not know where the pressure is coming from. He seems to be at a point where he's anticipating the rush. He's not getting rid of the football and where it's clean and it is a clean pocket and the ball is supposed to be there. It's not being thrown on time. There's times where he's scrambling and there's no need to scramble. There's times where on Amari Cooper early in the drive, there was a nice passing window. All you have to do is step up and throw it, and he was off target on that. When you are 1 of 13 or 1 of 14 on third down, that you can't move with that. And to me, this one was bad. I mean, this one was one of those games where it was like, can't nobody that's been watching these games and it actually says they're going to break it down. Can't nobody come to the ball game and say, oh, Deshaun Watson played good in that game. It was bad. It looks like he's seeing ghosts. He's been hit so many times that now he does not understand where the rush is coming from. The processing is slowing down even more. And he's at the point where you can tell his morale is through the ground, because right now, even when he does throw the football, guys aren't helping him out. Jerry Jeudy dropped another touchdown pass in this game. You're right on the goal line. You can't get the plays in on the time. You guys are still giving up. And let me be clear about this. And it's not like I got to play both sides as I'm on this. If the Cleveland Browns have the worst quarterback play in the league, they got the worst offensive line play in the league. Completely, it's just Jed Wills to me is not a professional player right now. DeJuan Jones is not a professional player. What I mean by that, they're not good to be NFL players. That's what I mean. I'm not talking about their professionalism. I'm talking about their skill set not being good. Right now, DeJuan Jones is one of the worst tackles in the game. He can't block a cold, not on the run block, not on the pass block. Right now, they're scheming, offensive line coach and their running game coordinator, worse than football. They have no clue what they're doing. Zero. The way they're drawing this stuff up is disgusting up front. And by the way, Kevin Stefanski is doing one of the worst jobs I've seen as a head coach in a long period of time. The whole situation where you had to burn and waste those timeouts when you're inside the goal line, horrible. The fact that no matter you continue to still go 5 wide, it's horrible. You don't have the line to do that. You don't have the, and some of the play, I don't know what the concepts are. There are some people open below the chains, but let's be clear. Kevin Stefanski, and we're going to talk about him later on in this program, but Kevin Stefanski has done a horrible job too, all the way around. So let's get to this. To me, I said it on UCSS. I said it the day after. I said, right now, if it was me and it was my ball team, I'm moving to Jameis Winston. And you know why I'm moving to Jameis Winston? Jameis Winston can give you a spark. Jameis Winston will have guys that will follow him. And the Cleveland Browns right now, something has to give. Something has to give. When you play this bad and you play this poorly, if you're not, and Kevin Stefanski has already come out and say that he's not going to make a change, and he's not going to do that, right? And so the speculation is amongst everybody involved, why can't you make the change? Let's take a look at this conversation. And I asked Aditi point blank period about Jameis Winston and what's going on with Deshaun Watson and whether Kevin Stefanski has the authority to make that deal or that trade or not even that, make that swap at quarterback. I know Kevin's a smart guy. He's watching the film just like everybody else, and he knows the targets are 45%, 45 passes are off target. Do you believe he has the ability to say, you know what, we got to go to Jameis Winston? Or does he need more time and more of a sample size to get that blessing?
I can't answer that definitively. I don't know the answer to that. My suspicion, my hunch, my general feeling is that he does not. That is not his power and his decision solely.
But to Aditi, see, and a lot of people have said that, and I agree that that's probably true. I think your thoughts on the matter are I would agree with you. But what I would say to that is, Kevin Stefanski has made a lot of money. He's not like the rest of us that can't afford to lose their job. If he got fired, his money is guaranteed. If I were in Kevin Stefanski's shoes, and I'm not, so maybe if I actually were, I would do this differently. But I believe, knowing myself, that if I were in the position that Kevin is, where he completely has the hammer because his money's guaranteed, and I wanted to bench Watson, and Jimmy Haslam said, you absolutely cannot bench Deshaun Watson, I would say, Jimmy, as long as I'm the head football coach, I'm going to make the decision. And I would force Jimmy's hand to either fire me or back off if I were him. I'm not, and he's maybe not that personality, but I think that's ridiculous. The coach should have the absolute say on that.
You know what, Bull, I don't disagree with you there either. And I would just add one thing. Kevin Stefanski would be offered another job like that.
Yeah, I've already told you where I would go. I would already have made the move. I would have made it because right now, as a coach, your job is to get the best out of the guys involved. And he hasn't done it as a coordinator. He hasn't done it with his coaching and his coaching staff. So what are you going to do? And here's the thing. I'm not going to just throw my hands up and say it is what it is and punt on the season and keep moving forward. That's not what we're going to do. Because I'm going to tell you coming up in a little bit, if you think you're going to be tanking and you're going to lose these games and you're going to continue to play Deshaun Watson, you're going to continue not to address offensive line play, poor offensive line play up front, you're going to continue to keep these same coaches on the coaching staff, and you're not going to change the playbook back to something that's more suited to your team and under center play action type stuff that people have been screaming for, and you're going to still keep calling plays, something got to give. And so, when you play poorly and you're in charge, things change based on what wins and losses. And right now, I can't do it, man. I watched the tape. I said, no. But that's not the only change I'm making. That's not the only change I'm making. When we come back, we'll talk about the rest of the changes, because let me tell you this. If you think you're going to tank, if you think you're going to move around and do it exactly what you want to do, That's not going to work in this game plan, right, folks? You're not going to be able to just roll the ball out and continue to say, this is what it is. We got to be better after every press conference, because that will not work. And here's my thing about Deshaun Watson, and people will ask me, well, what changed? What changed? Why are you going to this? Why are you flip-flopping? What are you doing? Listen, it ain't about no flip-flop. I go by based on what I see on film. The same way some people going to be mad at me that I say he played well last week, it's going to have another group of people that's going to be mad that I told you he did not play good at all, and it was his worst game as a Brown. It was his worst game. Now we could go back and talk about everybody else being their worst game. The offensive line is garbage, all this other stuff. But I'm talking specifically what I saw on the film. He had a couple of good throws. The throw to Jordan Akins was there. But way too many times there's guys that are available, and I talked about this before, making your layups. Third and 6, 3rd and 10, give a guy an opportunity to catch the football and move upfield. Maybe it ain't for 10 yards, but all you can do is throw to who's open. And if the design does not have a guy open deep, then you got to give your guys an opportunity to catch the football one-on-one, make somebody miss, and give your team a chance to move the sticks. And that's what it's about. So for me, right now, I don't believe. And look, at a certain point in time, I believe Deshaun Watson was going to give you the best chance to win. Given where he's at right now, given the offensive line, given the fact that he's been hit and beat up the most in the league, I don't think that. I think Jameis Winston will see the field clear. I think Jameis Winston is more of a suited towards the game plan that they're going to have to run if they want to win some football games, which is the run game, play action, get rid of the ball. That's what you can't improvise with this. Deshaun Watson is an improviser. He likes to play outside of structure. You cannot improvise with this line, with these receivers, with this lack of running game, and anytime with this playbook and the coaching staff. It's just not going to work. When we get back, we'll talk about it. I don't think you can tank, because somebody specifically will not make a tank. We'll come back and talk about it. It's G. Bush here, right here on the Ultimate Browns. The Ultimate Guardians. Guardians took a tough L, 1-1 going back to Detroit. Adam the Bull and Zach Meisel will be doing a post-game podcast on every single game. Make sure you guys check those guys out. After every Guardians playoff game, they will be doing a special post-game show, so make sure you check that out. Season is coming up rapidly. We got Ultimate Cavaliers, Jason Lloyd, Mikey McNuggets, the Cavs. Opening night starts tonight in terms of the preseason. You get a chance to see the Cavaliers, and they'll be all over the Cavs all season. Interviews, good interview, good job in media day. So make sure you check that out. Make sure you keep subscribing to the UCSS so you know when Ultimate Cavaliers will be on deck, so you never miss an episode. Welcome back to the fastest 30 minutes in all the sports. Your boy G. Bush talking about the Cleveland Browns. Washington Commanders beat the brakes off of us. And I heard a lot of people talking about tanking. I heard people talking about draft picks. I heard a lot of people talking about whether or not, is this going to be the end of the Deshaun Watson era? Who are they going to get? Should they go to Jameis Winston? And should the Browns, I'd rather be bad than medium and actually, be 7-10 or something like that. I would rather be worse and go ahead and complete the full tank so we can have a better draft choice. But let me tell you what the unintended consequences of taking that route. It ain't gonna end up well. And I'm gonna tell you why. Kevin Stefanski, after this clip, he ain't gonna make a tank. He won't be around if the Browns tank. And I'll give you the examples, and I'll give you why I say that right here after listening to what Dustin Fox said on UCSS.
I think Stefanski can make the call.
Yes.
And if he doesn't make the call, first off, he would make the call. Every point you just laid out is dead on. The money, the job, your reputation.
Yeah.
Like everything.
Yeah.
If anyone's going to look at Kevin Stefanski going forward, they're going to be like, okay, that guy's got stones, or he is going to cower to ownership.
Yeah.
He's not going to cower to ownership. The guy's, his reputation as a coach is on the line. The locker room, on the line.
Yeah.
Listen, I think we're coming to a point where he's going to make that call.
Yeah.
It's just not this week. Like, I think it could happen next week very quickly. But to jump ship that, like, after it was a terrible game on Sunday. We all know that, like his worst by far. But the point is, he's close. And I guarantee it'll happen next week if he has another 8 quarterback rating game.
Look, let me tell you this. If they come out and look like they did, and Deshaun Watson still doesn't play well, and he don't sit him down, there's going to be a double-edged sword. See, it's almost you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't at this point. Because, you know, right now, people are looking at it. And I brought this point up a little bit earlier. At the last time because we always want to bring Baker up, right? So if you're the head coach and you need to make a decision what's best for the roster, everybody said Baker Mayfield should have been sitting because he was hurt. You go from 2020 to 2021, Baker hurts his shoulder, and the whole year, Baker is playing, and it looks like he's hobbled, looks like he can't get to zip on the ball, and the team is saying, listen, we're losing our season, and they don't decide to pull Baker and sit him down into the last game or so, the game before the regular season was over, when the Browns were completely out of contention. Some would say you punted on the season because you refused to pay Case Keenum, even though you paid him the highest salary of any backup quarterback in the league. You refused to play Case Keenum. Case Keenum actually came out there with Dearness Johnson during that season and was able to beat the Denver Broncos on national TV. You brought Baker back because he said he wanted to play against the Steelers. So you didn't have the heart or determination to make a tough call then. Fast forward to today, the locker room's looking at you. Are you going to take him out? Are you not? Is ownership in charge? What are we doing? Because right now, the obvious choice would be for a lot of people was like, we got to pivot. We got to figure something out if we want this season to be about anything. But the longer he keeps them in and the longer he keeps calling those plays, he can't detach himself from the losing. You see, he made the decision that he was going to keep calling plays even though Dorsey was here. He made the decision that, hey, I'm going to keep him in. Now, look, if the ownership group is telling you that you got to keep him in, and the ownership group is telling you that you can't, switch things up, if the ownership is telling you that you can't do nothing, then why is you here then? I posed the same question to the panel on UCSS on Monday after we talked about the Browns game.
Stefanski is building a house with materials he doesn't want. And he's forced to do it because that's the way things go here. So if I'm a coach, I've always said this. If I'm a coach, I'm winning and losing, getting hired and fired based on what I want to do, not what J-Dub wants to do,
let me ask you
or
guys,
Paul D. Podesta.
I talked to Mikey McNuggets the other day, and I asked him this question. If he is being forced to do all said things that we are saying, he can't pick the coordinator, he got to fire Van Pelt, he doesn't get a choice whether Baker's going to stay or Deshaun Watson comes out of the game, well, why would you sign up for an extension?
It's a great question.
With an organization that has handcuffed you and don't give you permission? Why would you do that?
And I was advocating last offseason he should walk.
I said that.
And I did too.
He should quit. But just quit. You'll have a job tomorrow.
Without question. It boggles my mind. And that is the right question, G. You're asking the absolute right question. I'm looking at Kevin, and here's my answer to that. That's who he is. He's not an alpha male. He's not. And that's not a knock on him. I'm just saying an alpha male is going to walk into the room and say, look, boys, this is the way we're going to run it, or you're going to find someone else to run it.
Do you need somebody like that? Because right now, it seems like the Browns are not playing with the alpha male at the top of the food chain.
Well, and that's what you get. The team takes on the personality of the coach.
I don't want to speak for Bull, and at first I kind of dismissed what he said. I think Adam is 1,000,000% right when he said, bench Deshaun to make him fire you.
You see, and it brings me back to my thesis. He's not going to make – if the Browns want to tank, think about this. If you are already have an owner that drug his feet to give you an extension, drug him. You got an owner that was like, I don't know whether or not I want you to keep your best friend, Alex Van Pelt. He made you fire your best friend, bro. if you got an owner who has all these things, right? They won't let you bench Deshaun Watson. They won't let you revert back to your own playbook that was successful, that you prefer to run. Then he's telling you he's not that into you. Remember that book back a year? Remember that book back in the day? I think it's about 20 years ago now. The book that he's just not that into you. And it was just a dating commentary on why certain people start acting a certain way, or they're indifferent, or they do certain things, they don't return your calls. And somebody just had to come out and say, he's just not that into you. Jimmy Haslam's just not that into, you know, regardless of what awards he won. He's just not that into him. And so for Stefanski, here's your task. If he's not that into you now and you won Coach of the Year all these times, and he don't care nothing about that, he's obviously telling you, look, man, I want it to be a certain way. And if you're not trying to do that, then you out of here. And think about it. They was winning when he had the restriction on them. How much is it going to be worse when they lose? You're 1-4 right now. We haven't even gotten to cold weather yet. I still got shorts on. The way public sentiment works is, yeah, you may seem like you jaded now because you're playing these little NFC teams. But what happens when you start playing division foes and the Steelers is boat racing you? And the Ravens is putting 25, 30, 45 points on you and you can't get no first downs. And let Joe Burrow flip the script and the Bengals play well on you. And then the fan base is not going to want to hear none of that. Because sooner or later, if you keep trotting out the same people, if you don't make any adjustments in your coaching staff, you don't make any adjustments in your play calling, and you still got the same quarterback and the same structure and the same everything, they're going to actually take your word for it when you say, it's my fault in the press conferences. It's my fault. I have to be better. Keep saying you're going to be better. And one day Jimmy Haslam going to say, yeah, I deserve better. I want better. He will never survive a tank of one and something. He will lose credibility in the locker room, as Dustin said. He will lose credibility with the front office, and he never really had that much of a credibility to begin with. So when people talk about people tanking, not to mention that the consequences of tanking are veteran players asking for trades, veteran players coming up with hamstring injuries, hip flexor injuries, concussion protocol. I don't know if I want to. They're going to start making business decisions because there's no reason to put guys electing for season-ending surgery. We ain't even gotten to the meat and potatoes of the AFC North yet. And if they make them decisions, he will not make it. I'm just letting you know right now. There is no way he will finish 2-something or 3-something and feel like he's too close to the action. He's too close to the action. Not to mention they trying to get a stadium. Tanking while you trying to ask for a brand new facility? Stop it. It'll never work. You say, G. Bush, you're always talking trash, man. Well, tell us what your solution is. You always bring up, you're so good at telling us about what's wrong. Give us the solution. I might tell you the solution I got. I'll give it to you. See if you agree with me. Put it in the comment section if you feel a certain way. When we get back, we'll talk about that solution, and we will get to something that I feel like nobody is talking about. We'll do that coming up right here on the Ultimate Browns. As I said, you know the Ultimate Browns 2 times a week. Make sure you continue to support us over here on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. 2 days a week, Tuesdays and Fridays. We give you that up-to-date Browns content from your boy G. Bush over here on the Ultimate Browns. And don't forget about my guy, Earl the Pearl, Ultimate 216, right here on the UCSS Network. It's a mix of sports and culture. Make sure you check him out as well. And make sure you hit that subscribe and notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming shows. And I don't got a graphic for it, but also watch out. This is Buckeye season. Dustin Fox and Tyvis Powell, 2 Buckeyes talking about Buckeye stuff. Watch the Ultimate Buckeyes. That show is once a week as well. So we got Buckeyes, we got Cavs, we got Guardians, we got Browns, we got everything, man. And we got the streets as well. So make sure you check that out, and we'll be doing that every single day, every single week, every single day, right here on the UCSS Network. Welcome back to the fastest 30 minutes in all the sports. G. Bush with you right here in the Ultimate Browns. We talked about it earlier. You know, there's going to be a fallout from when you play the way you play, and the Browns played the way they did, and the quarterback play, and the coaching, and the line, all that letter D and all that above. But you say, G. Bush, what's the solution? And I'm not saying this is a one of a kind solution, but here's what I'm going to find out. Because I said this earlier. Something got to give. In order for you to figure out what the problem is, you got to isolate certain things. I need to use the process of elimination to figure out who it is. At this moment, the Cleveland Browns are so bad that you can't definitively say that Deshaun Watson is the reason the Cleveland Browns are losing these games. It just so happens to be that the quarterback is going to be the fall guy 90% of the time. After the quarterback, you got the coach. He's going to be the fall guy. And then from there, you'll look at people like the GM. You'll start looking at the infrastructure, all that stuff. But when you're playing that bad and Deshaun Watson plays that bad and he has what comes with his name, he's going to be one of the first guys to take that blame. And a lot of people is trying to put the blame on him unequivocally, like everybody else is balling. They're not. Offensive lineman is the worst I've seen. Coaching has been garbage all season, and Stefanski told you so out of his mouth. So you say, what's the solution? Jameis Winston might be the best bet, and let me tell you why. At least if you move to Jameis Winston, you know what you can eliminate. Process of elimination. Jameis Winston comes and plays good, then guess what? You definitely got your answer. It was Deshaun Watson. For whatever reason, whether if they didn't want to block for him, or if it just wasn't the offense suited for him, or it just the team didn't rally around him, or it was just like, he was seeing ghosts at the time. If Kevin Stefanski is still calling plays and they simply swap out Jameis Winston or Deshaun Watson, put it in Jameis Winston and Jameis Winston balls, by process of elimination, Deshaun Watson was a main culprit, right? If you don't do that, you can say, well, how do we eliminate and put an emphasis on process of elimination with the coaching staff? Well, here you do this. You can keep Deshaun Watson in the game, turn over play calling to Dorsey, and then see what happens. If Deshaun Watson plays well and the offense looks great under Dorsey, then guess what? By process of elimination, we know it might have been Kevin Stefanski and what his communication and playbook was looking like in terms of why it was holding the team back, right? Or you can do what I like to call just reverting and flipping back to the old style. Maybe it really ain't Kevin Stefanski in the play calling. Maybe it really ain't the quarterback play. Maybe it's the new concepts that Dorsey is trying to run, and the Browns don't have the horses to run it. So what do? You say, okay, how's about we do this? Before we switch out the quarterback and go with Jameis Winston, you take this week and you take next week and you say, we're going to revert back to what we do best. All of y'all should remember it. We've been running it since the beginning of time. Dust off some of them plays and go under center. Go work with what you was doing before and go back to the Nick Chubb playbook, and Chubb should be back within a couple weeks, and you run it like that. Heavy dose of the run, heavy dose of the play action, and if it works, then it was the playbook that you didn't have the personnel to do it, right? So revert to that. Or the last ditch effort. And this is the last ditch. This is what I would like to see. I would like to see Kevin Stefanski step up and say, you know what? We're going to make a lot of changes around here. And some of the changes are going to be shocking. And you got to make changes when things not working. I don't care who you like, who you don't like, what it is or what's going to be. Here's how we're going to move with this. I'm going to step up and I'm going to hand play calling duties over to Dorsey. That's what we're going to do. We're going to hand play calling duties over to Dorsey, right? I'm going to move out the way and be and let him see what he was going to do. But we about to run that playbook, though. We're going to run this football. We're going to be physical up front, and we're going to pare it all the way down. If by a couple weeks after that it don't work with Deshaun Watson, it's time to pivot to Jameis Winston. And then we're going to go with Jameis Winston for the rest of the year, figure out if we got something and figure out if he's the dude. Because, look, he only a year older than Deshaun Watson, and you need somebody, you're going to need somebody to salvage your reputation in the locker room. Because as we talked about it before, if you come out there playing around and you go to DTR or you won in something, you're going to lose Myles Garrett, you're going to lose Denzel Ward, you're going to lose Batonio, you're going to lose a lot of those guys. JOK, a lot of those veterans are going to tune out. And then you're going to have a fire sale. We don't want fire sales, do we? Because at 1-9, 1-10, or whatever, 2 and something, Myles Garrett is going to look around and say, do I want to be the next Joe Thomas? Do I want to be the next guy that will waste half of my career playing and not getting the opportunity to play for Super Bowls? Because that's what's going to happen. So you can't afford to tank too much. You can't afford to wait to make some sort of decision or to declare the season over before you make decisions, because other people, before you get to that, they'll be checked out long ago. And as we said in segment 2, you won't make a tanking situation. You won't make it. You don't have enough political you don't have enough political juice to survive that. You just don't. You saying that now, but can you imagine after you getting beat week after week after week with this roster and these expectations? No. So what you should be hoping for, best case scenario, is if you can get Jameis Winston to play like some of these other quarterbacks who resurrected their career. Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith, who else out there? Jared Goff to a lesser degree, because he had been to a Super Bowl. You want guys like that can dust their career off. He is a #1 overall pick. And the biggest thing of why Jameis Winston might work is, you know what kind of juice you got to have to say that your backup quarterback is doing a pregame speech? It's kind of wild. Jameis Winston has the respect of the locker room, and people will play hard for him. People will play hard for him. He can inspire individuals, and he has a natural leadership quality to him. He's a former #1 overall pick. He's thrown for 5,000 yards in a season, 5,100 yards in a season. Now, he threw 30 picks, but at this point, I'll take 30 picks and 30 touchdowns. At least there's touchdowns involved and the ball is going downfield, right? So Kevin Stefanski is in a rough place. He's in a catch-22 right now. And this is going to be a soap opera the rest of the year. He's steadfast in saying that he's going to roll with Deshaun. He's steadfast in saying that, everybody has to be better. It's not one person's problem. And he says he's going to stick with Deshaun. Now, they go to Philadelphia this week. Everything after, when you get to this position and point, every loss or win takes on a new life of itself. If they lose to the Eagles in the same fashion they lost to the Commanders, everything that he said everything I'm saying is on the table. Giving up the plays, moving on to Jameis Winston, all the letters, including A, B, C, and D, everything is on the table. So all the above. With that being said, we'll be here to cover it. This is going to be funny. Get your popcorn. I did not think we would be talking draft this early in the season. That ain't what I want to do, but that record dictates what we talk about. With that being said, you never know where your boy G Bush might show up, radio, television, or internet. And if you want the fresh cut on sports, pull up to the barbershop. Have a great evening and go Browns.